It is Tuesday, Tuesday, December 16th, 2014. Welcome to Prepper Chicks After Dark here on UCY.tv. And we are here to play some Conflicted, the survival card game. Looks like we have some static in the background, so if you guys on the show can mute for a second until you talk. I'm not sure who's making all the noise. All right, so let's get started here. What is Conflicted? It's a deck of cards, 52 cards in a deck. There's 4 decks out now, created by JD, who's going to be on the show. Hopefully, we snagged him. And we are going to, each card of the deck has a scenario on it that you can talk to your prepper group about. So let's get started here and get everybody introduced. So the creator of the card game, JD, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me, Laura. It's great to be here.
So,
can you hear me?
Yeah, we are. Kate, I think that background noise is you.
Me?
Mute the radio stream.
I'm not even on the radio.
No,
Kate.
You're okay.
Kate.
Okay, be nice.
And that you heard is Geek Prepper. Hey, John, how are you tonight?
Hey, what's up? Sorry, I had to use my nerd powers there to deduce who was making the feedback.
Yeah, I was watching who was blinking when the noise was on, so that's how I figured it out.
Are you still hearing it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear it so bad now.
No, you're good. Let's just move on. So back with us is Jared. Jared is with us. Why don't you introduce yourself, Jared, and tell everybody where you're from?
All right, great to be back, guys. My name is Jared, like Lori just said. I'm currently living in Gilbert, Arizona, which we just recently moved to, and we're loving it over here. And I recently launched a website a few weeks ago called flashpacks.com, which basically sells fully stocked, high-quality bug-out bags. Great to be here.
Go check it out, and Jared will drop his link into the chat room.
Sure thing.
Cool. Because our chat room, we love our chat room. Now, back with us. Well, hopefully I get to talk to her this time, because the last time we had hiccups with Skype. So, hoping this works out for us tonight. But one of my most favoritist female post-apocalyptic writers around, and a fellow Buckeye. Kate, welcome back to the show.
Hi there, how's it going?
It's going good. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody where you're from?
I'm from Ohio, and I'm a writer. I write post-apocalyptic fiction, the McLean Apocalypse trilogy that's out right now. And I met Lori through Prepper Chicks.
Yeah, and you have 3 books out now that would make awesome stocking stuffers. Hint, hint, for people out there.
Gratuitous plug.
Yeah, and, quite honestly, I love your books. You get very attached to the characters, and job well done.
Thank you. I like your book, too. I'm waiting for book 2, though.
Yeah,
no pressure.
Yeah, had a little mishap in my life and trying to get things straightened out. So as soon as I can get things moving in that direction, I've started it. I'm working on it slowly. It's just taking some time.
Oh, yeah, they're a labor of love, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, you guys ready for your first card?
Let's do
Ready
it.
to go.
Okay, here we go. So Morgan has an offer, and this is from deck 4 based off of Angry American. So Morgan, his main character in his book, has an offer for shelter. However, he had to give up his weapons temporarily in order to be allowed in. He could use a comfortable place to sleep and food. However, he was in the midst of strangers. If you were in his situation, would you give up your security for food and shelter, or would you rather keep a way to defend yourself and go hungry? So, food versus firearms. So, Geek, what would you do?
I'm not going to give up the weapons. As anyone knows from historical truth, which is Walking Dead season 4, you do not give up your weapons and go into a camp of people. I mean, you might be hungry, you might be uncomfortable, but you're alive, and that's a known at that point.
Okay, do you think there are camps out there where people actually eat each other like that?
Currently I don't think so. Maybe probably not in the continental United States, but in that type of situation, it may not even be eating you. It might be, just taking your stuff, torturing you to find out where your stuff is or where your people are. I don't want to risk it, so negatory.
Okay. All right. JD, what would you do? Food versus your firearm.
Well, I think it depends who you are with. If you are with your kids, that may be so enticing for you to do that. But I would try as much as I could not to be in a situation, not to give up my arms. The only way I maybe see myself doing that is if my kid is on the edge of death, and I'm sure whoever these people are that they can help me. If I have a hint that they may or not help me, no way, I'm out.
Okay.
But that's probably the only way that I would do it.
All right. Jared, what do you think? So far, nobody's giving up their firearms.
I would have to agree. I would literally rather eat pine needles and pine nuts and any other plant that I can find than give up my weapons, because you really never know. Going back to what you said a minute ago, I believe it was a few weeks ago, I actually saw a story on the news to where some people actually murdered a woman. They put her body into a freezer. I don't know if you guys heard this story. And then they were slowly eating her. Each month would pass by, they would slowly take out a bag and actually eat her body. So cannibalism is actually a very real thing. Actually, JD, I think I sent you an email on that. I don't know if you remember that, but pretty sick. So yeah, definitely keeping the guns.
So anybody you see out walking the streets twitching a little bit, you might be worried about? Because from what I understand, when you eat, a lot of human, it does things to you, and you twitch a lot.
Define a lot of human. How much before we start twitching?
A buttload.
Jared and I know somebody who twitches a lot. I wonder.
Might want to check his freezer. Okay, well here, I'm going to throw you a curveball, Jared. What if you are trained in, say, street fighting, Kempo, Kali, something along that line, and you were quite successful at it, would you at that time consider losing the firearm?
If I was solo and children weren't involved in this, can we assume that I'm a solo person at this point? Is that okay?
We can assume.
I'm solo, and I have a knife or Kali or something like that, and I'm literally starving, but I still have enough strength to defend myself. I'm definitely going to consider it, but I'm still going to err probably on keeping my guns. But it really just depends on my initial impression of the group.
So if they were all female?
If they're all female, are they twitching? If they're twitching, I probably wouldn't go there.
No, but I'm going to date myself here, but you know that the Wonder Woman, the island that she came from, was all females. So
Wonder Woman!
There you go.
Wonder Woman!
She's awesome, by the way. She's going to be in that movie coming up, the Superman versus Batman.
I know, I'm so excited.
Linda Carter?
No, she's a grandma.
Yeah. No, the new one. The new Wonder Woman coming out.
Yeah, super excited about that.
Kate, what would you do?
The giving up the guns thing?
Yeah.
Oh my. Do you have to ask?
No, would you wear spandex like Linda Carter used to?
I have gone as Wonder Woman for Halloween, but I'm not releasing those photos to the public. Definitely would not give up the gun, because if I have a gun, I can make food and shoot deer or rabbits. It helps also to stay on your paleo diet if that's what you're into.
Why don't you explain that to everybody?
The paleo diet, it's I think you eat meat and berries or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's as raw food as you can get, basically.
Yeah.
There's no carbs in it. There's no junk food. You don't get a 12-pack of Pepsi or Bud Light or anything like that. It's just straight up food.
Yeah, it's like communism. Yeah.
Yeah, cannibalism would be paleo, wouldn't it?
There you go.
Yeah.
It is natural.
Well, it's
And here's a curveball. Here's a curveball for you guys. When would you guys begin to trust other people?
never.
Because we would never give up our weapons because we don't want to be put in a bad position. But when do you begin to trust other groups and other people after the crap hits the fan? What needs to happen to build trust? Because of course you're not going to embrace everybody you meet, but to create a society again, you're going to have to interact with other people. So what would you do to reach out to other people but not expose yourself? Or would you even do that?
Right now, in this stage of my life, I wouldn't. I'm a little jaded right now, so it wouldn't be a fair question for me. I've always preached it takes a community to survive any kind of thing. But I have a lot of stuff that I need to work through, and it's going to take me a while to trust anybody. So
it takes a village to raise a village idiot, right?
It does. That it does. What would you do, John? Would you trust? How long would it take you?
I like to think I like people, but I don't think I really trust people as a rule. I barely trust my wife, who's like in the same house with me. I don't know what traumatic childhood experiences I had, but I just don't find it easy to trust. I guess because I had red hair growing up.
Yeah, it could be a ginger.
So I think that there's good in people, but I'm not willing to gamble on it, right?
And you don't know. You don't know somebody. I mean, there's no way to 100% know how someone would react. You add starvation and all of that to it, and traumatic events, and Lord only knows what you're going to end up with.
Right. I mean, they'd be looking at you and might be seeing like a pork chop or a corn dog.
Yeah, well, who was the group that they ate each other after the plane crash?
Weren't there soccer players?
Yeah, go back in history. I mean, your best friend. Add some barbecue sauce to your preps.
I'm kind of curious on your guys' view on that. Would you actually, if you were in that situation, you're away from your family, you're away from your friends, plane goes down, would you actually eat other people to survive?
Maybe we should ask in what situation would we not eat people to survive?
Yeah, because ketchup makes everything taste better.
I mean, there's a point if there's nothing else, and if people are dead, freshly dead, and you're like, I'm gonna eat this guy's leg, I'm gonna eat this guy's butt cheek, whatever.
I think we could. I think we could sit here and we could say all day what we would do, but until we were in that situation, it's hard to tell.
I agree.
Humans are survivors. I think you're going to do what you have to do, regardless of what you think now. You're going to do crazy things.
Kate, what do you think? Could you eat someone else?
No. I've actually researched cannibalism before, because that's a fun topic. But it can cause encephalitis, which is like brain swelling for your children. Like it doesn't necessarily affect the people that are eating it, but it affects your offspring. There's groups in South America that do perform cannibalism, so it's pretty gross. And I'm a germaphobe, so I can't imagine. I don't even like to shake hands with people. I can't imagine eating someone.
How did
just
we
let it cook for a while. It'll be fine.
How did we get on this topic, anyways? Because that wasn't on the card.
There's some twisted people in this group.
Something like that, yeah. But I mean, it's going to be. Hopefully, none of us ever have to find out. Let's put it that way.
I was going to say we owe it to ourselves to really find out. We're going to have to eat somebody.
We're gonna vote you in for that, John. So you go do that, and you let us know how it goes. How does that work for you?
It's all or nothing. How can we write about it if we don't know, right?
Well, you know what? Depending on, I know where you live, so I'm not sure you're gonna find a whole lot of, brains or intelligent species down your way, so go for it.
No, there's no intelligent species here.
Yeah. Okay, here's one for you, since we're talking about killing and eating people. You're face-to-face with the murderer of your family. The assassin is bound at your feet. There is no government or anyone around to stop you from doing whatever you want with the person who killed your loved ones. You both are inside a barn. You have a few tools at your disposal, such as a knife, hay forks, pigs, horses, and ropes. What would you do to the person who murdered your family if you were in this situation? Would you show mercy? So, Geek,
Find
here.
a wood keeper and send him feet first.
By mercy, I don't think I would torture him. No, I would definitely kill him.
That makes you no better than him.
No, it doesn't. Well, you know what? It does, because it's justice at that point. It's an eye for an eye. You know, you took everything I love. So yeah, for that moment, I won't be any better than he is. I will be exactly the animal he was as I destroy him. So yes, you're right. I would be no better than him for that moment, but I would try to do better afterwards. Without my family, I mean, I'm nothing. I am a base creature of no worth, so why would I not?
For some reason, I got this idea of being Catholic and a beer tent in my head. We'll just, drink all the beer and gamble, and then on Sunday repent. And I probably just hugely offended someone.
Hey, Jesus will forgive me for blowing his head off. Today you'll be with me in paradise.
JD, what would you do?
I would get very creative. There'll be nothing else for me to do. So I'll get extremely creative for a long time.
Well, let me ask you this, because it's on the news today. So over in Pakistan today, we had the Taliban come in and pretty much wipe out a school. And if you haven't read Day of Wrath, the book that's out, go do it, because it's a little, it'll make you stop and think about your kids in public school. So in Pakistan, Taliban came in and pretty much shot like 145 kids and defenseless children. But we get shit on over here in the United States for things like waterboarding. And Kate, I might let you weigh in on this. What are your thoughts on that?
Uh-oh. I think that the quote-unquote torture techniques that we use are effective, and I think they've proven effective. And I don't think that pouring a little water on a rag and making somebody simulate the feeling of drowning is really torture. I mean, our Navy SEALs go through that kind of thing when they go through training. So I'm 100% for torture. Do whatever you got to do to keep my country safe, because if they come here, they're not going to like what they get met with.
Well, do you think some people will stand up, but a lot of people are just going to roll over and expect the government to take care of us, which concerns.
Well, yeah, those are the sheep. But there's a lot of us gun owners out there, and we're not going to roll over and just let Taliban and ISIS types take over our country.
So, for torture techniques, would you have a problem utilizing or killing someone that killed your family?
I would not. I wouldn't even blink an eye. My husband travels a lot for work, so I'm home a lot by myself, and I'm very proficient with firearms. I have been since I was a kid, and my kids are now proficient with firearms as well. So, and you know where I live.
Yeah.
Out in the boonies, where you used to live. So, yeah, it's like you against nature more than me against, hoodlums in my neighborhood. But, yeah, I personally would not want to torture somebody to death, but I think that taking away somebody's family can bring out the beast in the worst part of people that you could possibly imagine.
Especially a mom. We seem to have a little bit more emotional vengeance going on. But
sure.
Something that people also need to think about is, and I think, who were we talking about this with? I think it was G. Michael. and it's in his book even too, is what if you do let that person live? What's going to stop them from coming back and inflicting more harm on someone else?
Or coming back and inflicting harm with 20 people.
Yeah. So it's something people need to think about, if we get to that point.
Well, I think that good people will cleave together, and I think that bad people would cleave together as well. They're going to turn on each other in their own crappy little groups, but I think that you're going to have good groups of people and bad groups of people out there.
How many good people do you think are going to flip to the other side if whatever you feel as the apocalypse happens? Do you think there'll be an 80-40, 80-20 split, 60-40 split? What do you think it's gonna be here in the United States? The good
people that aren't self-sufficient already are going to try and cling on to people that are more authoritative and people that are ready. So they're going to band together just for the comfort level. The kind of people that are always waiting for the government to help them anyways. Those are the people that are going to be clinging to bad people because they won't have anybody else to cling to. If you can't rely on yourself, you have to rely on somebody.
That you do, and people are going to be desperate.
Right.
We're already seeing that start now.
Oh, yeah. I've been calling this lately the implosion of my country. I don't know what's going on. It's like the world has gone mad.
Yeah, that it has. The balance of good versus evil has definitely tilted.
It is out of whack, isn't it? It's just nuts.
Well, you look at, too, everybody's like, oh, wow, we've got gas less than $2 a gallon right now. And they don't understand. They think it's great. And don't get me wrong, it's nice to not pay a small fortune to fill up my truck. But you have to understand the implications of what's going to happen when you see gas that low. And now Russia's in the news today, basically imploding. I mean, they're going down. And it's going to take, we're either going to see them completely fall, or we're going to see Putin step in and do something desperate to save his country.
Yeah, there was a big bank run on the rubles. People were hitting the banks, waiting in line, trying to get their dough. I mean, it was crazy the last couple of days.
Oh, you mean, and go spend it on commodities like we've been preaching for years now that actually don't lose value?
Exactly. I mean, after the collapse, you'll be able to, trade a firearm for a lifetime supply of food. I mean,
yeah, so it's something people need to watch. Venezuela's already fallen. Greece went down, 2 weeks ago? Japan's in no good shape. China's not in good shape. We are just a mess over here. So watch what happens in Russia, because it's probably coming here very soon.
Well, not to mention, China has been encroaching on other people's ground for quite a long time, and nobody's doing anything about it. And my theory with China and the you can only have one daughter thing is I think they're building an army. There would be no other reason to not let people have more than one kid. And if you've got all these young men that don't have anybody to marry, what are they going to do? They're going to join the army.
Very true. Jared, what do you think? You've been quiet. Did we lose him?
Yeah, Jared, no hiding, man.
Sorry, coming off mute there.
Jared thinks we're all crazy.
No.
What did I get myself into?
These people are nuts.
These freaking whack jobs, yeah.
So what do I think in terms of China, or what do you mean?
I don't know. We kind of lost the question there, didn't we?
Yeah.
What question?
Somebody killed your family. Would you kill them, or would you show them mercy?
You know, in the context that you put it initially, you're alone in a barn, just one-on-one with knives and some tools and stuff. That's a tough situation for me. I mean, I certainly have no problem destroying someone that comes into my home or threatens my family or anything like that. I certainly have no problem, with the death penalty and anything like that. But when it comes to me one-on-one with, the person that killed my family, I was certainly going to want to kill them, there's no doubt, but kind of like you, Lori, I think that God-fearing man in me, I would really ask myself, what's going to lie in the future for me if I do this, you know what I mean? So, if it was the heat of the moment and it literally just happened, that's one thing, but if I find this guy in a barn, I don't know. But then again, you brought up a good point. If this guy gets released, what is he going to do? So that's a fantastic question. And if I know he's going to go back out and do it some more, which it sounds like he would, then I probably would end his life. Because then I feel like it'd be my duty to stop him from doing it to others.
Well, you could cut both of his arms off.
Yeah,
Think about it. Like in Walking Dead, which Geek brought up earlier, Michonne, her little walkers that she used to throw the scent off of herself. She had them chained and she drug them around like, lap dogs. So she broke their jaws so they couldn't bite her, and she tore their arms off.
Well, that's not too far-fetched for me. I mean, maybe that's the answer for me. Maybe I get a knife and I cut off his fingers or I cut off his hands so he can't touch another human being. I don't know. But the murdering, one-on-one in a barn, I don't know. I got to look at, myself at that one and figure out, where I think I'd be after that.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people out there understand the true depth of the rage that they would be dealing with either at that time. You might be surprised about what you could pull off.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so next question. With the electricity gone, refrigeration and pre-packaged foods were things of the past. How do you conserve meat and other foods for long-term storage without modern equipment? Easy question enough right now because it's like, 30 degrees out here right now? But what happens if you live in the southern part of the United States or in a warm climate or it's summertime? So preserving meat and other foods, what would you do for long-term storage? John?
I would do things like drying foods like your jerkies and stuff, or even curing it, so like salt and brine. I mean, I think those are your best bang for your buck, unless you just happen to luck upon something fresh.
But how many people out there, as part of their preps, store salt?
Not too many. I've got I know someone who has a little stash of salt, so I know there'll be people bartering. There are salt deposits if you know where to look, but I think it'll be a big commodity that people will really be wanting.
Yeah, like toilet paper.
What? Toilet paper? What's that?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. JD, what do you think? How are you going to keep food long term?
I'm with Geek. I think you...
We're all going to Geek's house.
That's right. We're going to salt it up a notch.
Yeah, salt, jerking it, using the other techniques that are out there. Maybe canning it. Can you can meat? I think you can, right?
Yeah, you can.
And here's and Geek, you might be able to help me with this one. How many families out there own a canner that would not know how to use it without electricity?
I think it would be a challenge for me, and I know how to use it. I've done it a couple times, but I'm not by no means a pro. But I mean, it's hard enough to regulate the temperature, I think, on a stove. So doing it over a campfire or grill, I think you definitely have a challenge. There'd be some big booms in the night sky.
Well, and canners nowadays are built pretty safe. I mean, that was a fear. I know back in my grandparents' age was the canners blowing up and stuff, and they've come a long way since then. But, it can be done to can over an open fire. Misty Prepper, if you don't know who she is, get on to YouTube and check out her videos or her website or on Facebook. She does it all the time. So she has a lot of great tutorial videos out there to show people how to do that. So check her out. And but I was thinking about that the other day. We're so caught up in this century that we forget that people survive. I mean, how long's electricity been around? 100 years?
Yep.
And how did people survive before the last 100 years?
They didn't. No one survived. There's no proof that anyone lived before that. So that's why when we lose electricity, hundreds of millions of people are they're going to instantly die, right? They're just going to fall over dead.
Well, if you think about it, how few people are there nowadays that know how to live without electricity? I mean, I had grandparents that had outhouses until probably in the last 20 years, 15 years. But majority of the people would freak out. So Kate, what do you think?
Well, people in the South have a plethora of fruit that we don't necessarily have up north, and they have different growing seasons for fruits and vegetables, so they could always dehydrate their produce and then salt their meats and can their meat too. You can meat. And then as far as the keeping things like potatoes and stuff, all you would have to do is dig out a cold storage cellar, a dirt floor. If you go down deep enough, the ground's cold.
What if you live in Florida and you hit water?
Well, then you move north.
Yeah,
I'm not even feeling sorry for the people in Florida. They've got the beach, okay? Because how much food do you need to eat when you've got the beach?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I don't care for that part of the United States at all. So, I would never live there myself because there's just I don't know. There's too many people down there and too many.
They have a lot of lizards and snakes.
Yeah, I mean, I go down every year, but I wouldn't want to live there. I'm forced to go down for work. Let's put it that way. Would never want to live there. But if you could choose any state, Kate, where would you live?
In a post-apocalyptic situation?
Yeah.
Probably about kind of where I live, because we have a pretty good growing season, in Ohio, and nice. We have good soil, and we have a lot of water, and that's something that a lot of the other states don't have, is they don't have water sources. So once you get out west and down south, their water tables are a lot different than ours. I mean, my well at my house is only a couple 100 feet deep. That's not that deep.
Are you concerned about population density, where you're at?
Not where I am.
I didn't. Somebody else said something. I didn't hear it.
Not where I live. I live very remote. My nearest neighbors are all acres and acres away, and I have a pretty good place. I have a good position where I am now. I wouldn't even have to go anywhere because we live really far back from the road, and I would just tear out our culvert because people would have to cross a creek, which gets pretty intense during different seasons, to the point where I can't even get out in my Tahoe. So I wouldn't have to move. I have a really good fighting position because we sit up high and we sit back in the woods.
Well, let me ask you this. After a post-apocalyptic event, how far from their own homes do you think people will venture?
I think they'd go everywhere eventually. After they figure out that the government can't help them, I think that you would just have a lot of gypsies, basically. You'd have people going place to place trying to seek comfort and aid, and kind of like, I don't know if you've read the book The Road.
Yeah.
But I think it would be like that. People would be on the road, literally.
Do you think that would venture towards one particular area more than another?
I think people that live in the city would venture out, hoping to find people that live on farms or find big industrial farms where they could set up camp, and not that, they would know what to do once they got there. But I think that they would be looking for things like livestock.
So, well, I don't want to say, because I know where you live, but, okay, let's say, how how far, if somebody was a city dweller, how far out do you think they would venture?
Do I think the people from the city where I live would come as far as me? Yes, absolutely.
So let's say Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Columbus, do you think they'd end up where you're at eventually?
I think they could. I think people would be moving. I think a lot of people would become nomadic.
Or do you think they would just head south? Everybody's going to head south where it's warm.
Well, they might. The first winter that they hit and they don't have electricity or natural gas pumping into their house or a backup plan of some kind, they might try to head south. I don't know that they'd have a lot of luck.
Yeah. Jared, what do you think?
I just threw up on the chat room. There's a terrific book called Strategic Relocation. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
Yep, I have.
Yeah.
Do you own a copy?
Somewhere. I've had it for a couple of years.
It's really fantastic, and I mean, to be quite frank, that's one of the reasons that I moved my family out of California is because, and I know JD knows what I'm talking about, but he gets into deep detail, and the thing that he says is kind of what you're talking about, Lori, is the biggest threat to your survival isn't necessarily going to be, snow or climate or water or things of that nature. It's really going to be population density, and it's going to be those outflows of people that are going to be doing whatever it takes to survive and basically going after your family to get what they need.
Is there any one place in particular that's worse off, in your opinion, than others? Or by the book?
Well, according to the book, the East Coast is essentially some of the worst places to be just because there's such mass populations there.
So they'll
small areas.
They'll all be cannibals eventually?
Cannibals, yeah, you name it. So according to the book, that's what they say, is the East Coast is going to be really, really, really bad.
And you moved to Arizona. You think Arizona is going to be better off?
I think it's going to be better off from where I was in California, certainly, for a number of reasons. But, I think there's some great places here in Arizona for good retreat sites, especially up north, I should say, by the way.
I would, stay away from me. If you look anywhere, though, there's something good and bad about everywhere. I mean, a lot of people like upstate New York, but people talk about going to Utah or they talk about going to Montana. Unless you know how to deal with the climate there, you might as well just sign your death warrant. Because there are people there. Go ahead.
Oh, I completely agree, and we got to be realistic too. I mean, you do have to go to where you have friends and family to some extent. You can't totally be alone, and I think that's really important. Although I'm pretty much solo right now, but I think it's really important to have like-minded people around you.
How would you go about finding those? You just moved there. How do you go about finding those like-minded people?
Well, I think the first thing that we got to do is kind of let our opinions be known to people, right? Let's not hide from what we believe in, preparedness and things of that nature. But let's
but what about
let it be known.
What about OPSEC?
What's that?
I think your strategy is just to have a cute baby to show around. Is that your child?
Oh, you hear my baby in the background?
Yeah.
I heard a baby too.
Yep, she is cute. Yeah, no, she's
Prepper baby.
Prepper baby. She's ready.
Should make a prepper backpack just for parents that have to carry their children.
I had one of those ones like you put your baby in like a papoose and you can run through the jungle. Yeah, definitely had that when my babies were little. I don't know who's going to carry him because it sure wasn't going to be my chubby butt, but someone was going to.
Whatever.
Door.
Well, I don't think most people up here would be running through the jungle.
Well, Maryland is the jungle. Really.
Yeah. So, John, where are you going to move to?
I'm going to get across that Mississippi River somehow. If it goes down before that, I'm just going to cut a path north.
Oh, you're a fellow Buckeye, too. We got 3 of
Yeah,
us here.
if I can get to Ohio, I've got a pretty good crew waiting there for me, and I will convince them to scrap their plans to go hide in the caves and go west.
And carry your kids.
Well, they're old enough to walk now. They'll be carrying me.
Get them a donkey.
Oh, I'd love a donkey. Old number 7.
That's going to take you forever.
It's going to take months, maybe years to get there, because I got the Appalachians, which I'm sure that I will be awesome there because it's very sparse when you get out there.
Right
and
now.
I'll just blend in with the hill folk. Well, everybody's going to go to the east, right? They'll be like, hey, I'm going to get food from the ocean. I'm going to fish. Because I don't know.
Poconos, because that's where all the hot tubs are at.
I don't know if you know the entitlement crew, but that's their plan. If I can't get food, I'll go fishing. I like fishing, so they're all going to. All these people with food stamps are going to head for the. I see them fishing at rivers now. You know you do, right? You see them hanging out the river fishing from their cars or whatever. I see it all the time. So they're going to go east. I'm going to go west, and they won't even see me because I'm like a ninja, right?
In your mind.
Yeah, I'll travel at night. I'm a pretty scary-looking dude anyway, but they're kind of scary too, so I don't know what to say.
JD, where are you going to move to?
I'm going to move to Brazil.
You're going to skip the country altogether.
No. Some place that's not going to get nuked.
Oh.
And
shotgun.
Well, I was telling my wife that we really should move out of here. I'm in California. Actually, Jared and I used to be almost neighbors here. That's how we know each other.
Oh, see, I picked up an accent. I figured he was from your homeland.
Yeah, he's Brazilian. He's
Brazil, where the ladies are as pretty as the men.
Yeah, so I don't know. If you see, there will be very few pockets of places that will be safe here in America if a nuclear war were to go down. And California is not one of them. So I would be out of here. If I had to choose a place in the U.S., maybe Idaho, somewhere. I'll have to consult strategic relocation. Like Jared did, but I don't know. I just think being out here in California, with the people that we have out here, it's such an easy place to just walk in and take over. I think there's going to be a lot of people, but very few that will stand in the way of an invasion around here. And I think Jared agrees with me, because after you're living here and meeting some of the people that you see out here, people are going to be like, hey, you're here to help me, right? So come on in. And so probably, like I said, Idaho or maybe Eastern Oregon, one of those places, one of those heck of the woods. That'll be my choice.
Yeah, I think I'm going to follow Kate, and I'm going to go back home to Ohio. So me, Geek, and Kate will be in Ohio, and we'll let you know how it goes.
Wait, what part of Ohio?
Tuscarawas County.
Tuscarawas. Wait, is that north?
No.
Central? Where is that?
Kind of more southeast.
Southeast. I've been there. I've been to the courthouse there.
Yeah.
And I live north-ish of Tuscarawas. I live in the Appalachian country.
Amen.
The hills.
Everybody around me still makes their own moonshine and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
buddy.
Wow, so I'll have to get my people to swing out, because my people are West Central Ohio.
See, you can trade salt. You've got your salt connection.
Yeah, I'll have to come through you, Geek, to get over to where I need to go. So
these dudes they're the real deal. These are cops and ex-military, and they've got it all figured out. There's quite a few of them.
Well, here's your next question, and I'm going to wing this one. It's in the deck, but I read it earlier. So, who would you trust more, military or police, and why?
Military.
Why?
I think people. Okay, this is going to probably make me some enemies. I've got a lot of cops in my family, and they're pretty good people. But police today, even my father, who was a retired sheriff, the sheriff, has admitted that today's police aren't like they used to be. Many of them don't exist to help you. They're there as part of this big money system, and because they have power problems from high school, right? Mm-hmm. So people join the military because they want to get something better or they want to help their country. I think generally they're good people, but I'm not sure that the police today are, and that's not 100%. So I'm not dissing police as a whole, but I've seen enough to make me really sketchy.
But you can blame some of the cops, but also the laws. Some of the laws that we have. Some of these guys, they think they're doing their job by following some law, but in reality they're just abusing everybody. But in their minds, like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's just an excuse to get, to do whatever they would have done anyway. But it's just an excuse to abuse people sometimes.
I agree.
Well, you give anybody a little bit of a taste of power, and corruption is not far behind.
That guy that got choked because he didn't pay a cigarette tax.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
The guy said, I can't breathe. The guy got taken down on a chokehold and died on the spot.
Do you think we have a fear right now, though, in this country specifically, of a race fear?
I think the race fear is instilled onto the people. I don't know. Well, I tell you from experience, because I've said this on the show a million times. I'm Brazilian. And Brazil has the largest the largest black population outside of Africa. And I grew up, and I still have several black friends, had some black girlfriends. The lines of race down there are very blurred. If you go to prison, people are not bundled by race. They're bundled by their gangs, and there are people from all different races in them. So I think here it became a race issue because it was kind of bred into the people in their minds, something that they learn over time, and it's still fed back to the people by the powers to be. The people who should dissipate this type of mentality, they keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and people believe it.
It's a political tool nowadays. It's a really powerful political weapon.
Yeah. Kate, what do you think? Military or police?
I would definitely trust my local sheriff because I know him. He's a lot like us. But I would trust the military more than probably anybody else because our United States military has a lot of honor and respect for the country. And there's also laws in place that they cannot turn the military against us under the Posse Comitatus law. Not that they wouldn't try to turn the police force against us, and I really don't like seeing this militarization of our police. So I definitely would trust my military, and my husband's ex-military, so definitely my Army Rangers, who I write about in my books.
What do you think? Well, you bring up a point, and I don't remember where I heard this from. The military, who was it? I don't remember how it went exactly. Something about the military are more loyal because the police can just go find another job somewhere and get a paycheck. And the military, those guys do this for free, basically. If you look at the small amount of money they get paid to defend this country.
That's true.
Right, and I mean the cops put their lives on the line every night too, and I think that definitely all this coming down on the cops lately is very irritating and frustrating for me too. I have a lot of respect for the police. I wouldn't be a cop in a big city for $1 million a year. I say that all the time, and I mean it. I literally would not do it. I do not like dealing with the drudges of society. And they just keep calling the cops, and then they film the cops doing things that they think are bad. And I feel like they're getting set up. If I was a cop, I'd say, don't even call me. I'm not coming.
Yeah, they definitely don't have an easy life, you know. But
No, they're damned if they do, and they're damned if they don't. And then who are these people calling? It's not like you're going to call your crack dealer to come save you. You're going to call the cops. And then if the cops or people think they're being too rough, then they end up on the nightly news.
Yeah, I mean, now it seems to be a fashion to film the police doing all their stuff. So, man, and I know lots in the police department, and like you said, I have respect for them also. But there are, a lot of bad ones out there, and the good ones need to start standing up and stopping them and speaking out. But a lot of them won't. It's a brotherhood.
Yeah, and there's a few boneheads, and I'm sure there's a few boneheads in the military too. But for the most part, if they're willing to work for $20,000 or $30,000 a year and put their lives on the line for us, who am I to judge?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we're down to 7 minutes. Anybody else have a card besides me?
I have one.
all right.
If you're ready, Morgan and his wife Mel had a plan in place as to what they would do if a major catastrophe happened and they were separated. Do you and your family have a plan in case of a disastrous event takes place, natural or man-made, and you suddenly lose contact with one another? Do you?
I do.
You do?
Yeah. Don't you?
Yeah, I do. We have some prearranged meeting places and spray paint signals or ways to mark, certain places as if we've been there, and moved on, or we're hiding somewhere in the area, something like that.
Yeah, my kids know. If so and so happens, this is what we do. If this happens, this is where we go. This is first. This is first place. This is second place. Plan A, Plan B. All that kind of stuff. Kate, what do you think?
Yes, I have plans in place for myself and my kids. And like I said, my husband travels a lot, so his plan is always to get home, which I know he will because he's got military training and he's kind of hardcore. So I have no doubts that even if it took him 6 months, he'd make it home. And my plan is to hold down the fort until he gets there, and I've got enough firepower to do it. So
there you go. There's a woman after your own heart. But that's what mamas do. They hold down the fort,
That's right.
It's always been like that.
We're mama bears.
Exactly. JD, what about you?
Yeah, I do. I have one. It depends, how bad things get. My bug out plan right now is to move out of California, and then nothing has happened. So, but if something serious does happen, depending on how severe it is, it can go anywhere from going to one of my teammates' places or going to out of state, going to a bigger, more secure place. So it depends on how bad things get, If civil unrest, probably stick around, hold things down. Foreign invasion, goodbye, California.
Yeah.
It really depends on what I'm dealing with at the time.
Very true. Very true.
Just pack a bag full of avocados.
Mm.
Yeah, hey, they inject them with so much stuff. I'm sure I could walk, across the United States and it'll still be good by the time I got there.
Oh, that's sad.
That's what we're counting on.
Yeah, because those of us hold up in Ohio like guacamole when you get here.
That's right. We'll provide the salsa.
Grab some tortilla chips on your way.
I was thinking tequila, but whatever.
Or that. That works too.
That's a good point. We'll be out of limes by then. We'll use guacamole.
Oh, that has got to be gross. There is no way.
Give me a shot past the guac slices. Avocado slice. Mm.
Oh, that just makes me nauseous thinking about it. We have salt. We'll just stick with the salt. We'll just make margaritas instead.
Oh, man.
And sing parrot songs. So, Kate, what's up in your future? You got a book coming out again soon?
Yes, I do. The first quarter of the new year, I'll have the 4th book in the series coming out. It's basically done. I hate to say that, because it's not ready yet. So, in case any of the fans are on and they're wanting an advanced copy, it's not ready yet, but it will be. I have 3 more on the table, and then I have a serial killer thriller that I'm working on too, because that's how I roll.
There you go. Now,
You're a serial killer?
You never know who we invite on the show.
Dang.
So how do people find your books, and what's your website and all that?
You can go on my website. It's katemorrisauthor.com, and you can click on the links, and that'll take you to Amazon, or you can just click on the links if you want a signed copy. They can get a paperback directly from me that I sign.
So any movies in the future over your books? That would be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because then we can say, we knew you when.
Yeah. No, I had a publishing offer, but it just didn't feel like the right one. So I'm kind of holding out there, waiting for something else.
Good.
So,
you're worth it.
Yeah.
Do it.
No. Aw, thanks.
Cool. All right, we're down to the last 2 minutes. Anybody else want to talk besides me? Geek, what are you doing?
I'm
Besides-
watching TV. No.
Well, we're glad that you're really devoted to this.
I'm always trying to come up with that next post. You know, I really try to stay away from the real common stuff. So I'm just, trying to get out and make my preps a little bit better, and then spread the wealth and try to make everyone else a little bit better. So
how much fear mongering is going on out there right now?
I think there's a lot of people in our niche that do that. I mean, and
it brings them in a
seems to
box.
sell. Yeah, it does. And I promote my posts like anyone else does, and I'll link to Amazon so you can read the reviews and check out the stuff. But I'll be the first to tell you, you don't have to buy stuff, man. Use what you got.